Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video we're taking a look at another one of the new Galarian starter Pokemon that has been released into Pokemon Go, and that is Cinderace. These battles were submitted to the channel by a member of the community, XXD Yveltal, so many thanks for the battle submission. Cinderace is a pure fire-type Pokemon, and for the moveset, it's rocking Fire Spin, Flame Charge, and Focus Blast. It's a very attack-weighted Pokemon, so it goes without saying it's not going to take a lot of hits, but if it lands a Focus Blast, then things could get fun. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches and take a look at Cinderace in the Open Ultra League. Hopping into the first match, leading Cinderace into Galarian Weezing. Weezing farming up energy, but Cinderace is going to look to strike first with a Flame Charge. Flame Charge gets the shield as the opponent unfamiliar with the moveset from Cinderace. Cinderace is going to let it through. It is just going to be the Brutal Swing. Brutal Swing not going to do a ton of damage. Opponent tries for a catch onto Guzzlord. Oh my goodness. Do they know? Cinderace going for the Focus Blast. They do not. That's a one-hit KO, and down goes Guzzlord. With Guzzlord out of the way, this game gets a lot easier as the backline is very, very weak to Guzzlord. In comes Ampharos, and Ampharos will commit a shield. Weezing only went for the Brutal Swing. Oh, the Volt Switch didn't quite KO. That's a 1 HP Weezing, making it to the overheat and dealing devastating damage. In comes Cobalion. Cobalion going to get hit with a Zap Cannon. This will do a lot of damage if it lands. Zap Cannon does not get shielded. Opponent getting nuked left and right. And that's a good game. Hopping into the next match, leading Cinderace into Aurorus. And this could get a little bit interesting, as of course Aurorus has Meteor Beam. Meteor Beam would one-hit KO pretty comfortably onto that Cinderace, so Cinderace will commit a shield. Opponent going to send out Giratina. Giratina now going to be answered with the Shadow Shiny Suicune. What an unbelievably cool flex. Giratina will go for the Dragon Claw. Suicune does have a decent amount of bulk to it, even though it is the Shadow form. Ice Beam is going to connect, and that deals some serious damage to that Giratina. Giratina can go for the Dragon Claw, but Suicune does not care. Suicune more than happy to absorb that energy. Opponent going for a Shadow Sneak for some reason. Dragon Claw and Shadow Sneak do the same damage, but Shadow Sneak is more energy, so there's no reason to ever Shadow Sneak there. Back in comes the Aurorus. Aurorus not going to take the chance of a Scald being reached, so Aurorus will fire off the Weather Ball, but it doesn't KO! The Shadow Suicune is too bulky, able to hang on, make the Scald, knock out the Aurorus, and in the back is going to be a Drifblim. Drifblim, these Astonishes add up so much, my goodness. Astonish, I do tend to forget that it is a Mudslap clone, and we know how much damage Mudslap can do. Ampharos is going to no-shield. Opponent goes for an Icy Wind bait. Unfortunately, not able to reach the Zap Cannon. The Zap Cannon could have been fun, but Brutal Swing will do damage aplenty. And now in comes Cinderace. Cinderace is going to use the shield as the Drifblim will fire off a last-second Hail Mary Shadow Ball. And after seeing it get shielded, opponent is going to resign the match, so the Flame Charge will not land. Familiar lead in the next match, Cinderace versus Galarian Weezing. Opponent safe switches into Licky, and this team does not have an amazing response available. In comes Shadow Ampharos, but Ampharos has to fear a potential Earthquake. It ends up being a Shadow Ball from the Licky, and now Ampharos looking to deal some damage or get the shield back, launching the Zap Cannon. Zap Cannon does get shielded, but a bit of good luck, as Zap Cannon does actually get the attack drop, which is a lot rarer of an occurrence this season. The debuff Shadow Ball not going to inflict nearly as much damage. The Brutal Swing is reached, but this is a very comfortable survive for Licky. Brutal Swing, oh, we actually see a double shield from the opponent. That's a bit of a surprise. So Ampharos more than happy to take the shield advantage out of this matchup, as Body Slam will KO. In comes Cinderace. Cinderace trying to make it to a move. We will see the no shield as Licky will fire off its energy. That Shadow Ball is going to connect. Cinderace tried for the farm down, but couldn't get there, forced to go for a Flame Charge instead. Flame Charge will pick up the knockout. Now Cinderace is going to be boosted. In comes Feraligatr. Feraligatr looking for the farm down. Feraligatr, perfect timing, firing off the Hydro Cannon right before the Focus Blast is reached. Oh, they Ice Beam for some reason. I do not know why they Ice Beamed. I don't have words there, but I do have words for that Focus Blast. My goodness, that damage. In comes the Suicune, and Suicune is going to start to try and fish for some debuffs with Scald. The Scald is going to connect. No debuff. Opponent throwing on Alignment and a free Snarl. That's a lot of energy that you're giving to Suicune. Opponent running Sludge on the Galarian Weezing, and now we're going to see another Scald fired at this Weezing. Scald is going to get them very low. Opponent making it to a last-second charge attack with the Weezing. Weezing is going to go for the Play Rough. Play Rough does not KO, and that will be a win. The Dream lead in the next match, leading Cinderace into Alolan Sandslash. Opponent safe switches into Feraligatr, and that will be met with the Ampharos. Ampharos is going to shield up the Hydro Cannon. Ampharos going for the Brutal Swing. Brutal Swing will not knock out, but the Volt Switch after will. Opponent is going to use the shield and look to force the final shield with the Hydro Cannon. Ampharos will now look to commit to a farm down as 2 more Volt Switches will be able to knock out, and Ampharos is very close to a Zap Cannon. Zap Cannon only hits for neutral, but that's going to do so much damage onto a Sandslash, but no, the opponent sends in Goodra instead, going for the Zap Cannon. That still does so much damage. That is resistant damage. We're going to see a switch out by the opponent, saving the Goodra, catching a Brutal Swing onto the Sandslash. Sandslash going to be answered with the Cinderace, but Sandslash can make a Drill Run, but it does not get there as it loses charge attack priority. Flame Charge shielded up. Opponent trying to sweep with the Sandslash. Drill Run. Cinderace is not a bulky Pokemon, but it does survive. It hangs on. I'm shocked that it survived there. Goodra is going to be met with the Shadow Suicune. Goodra going to be firing off a Thunder Punch. This is super effective damage here. Is Thunder Punch going to be able to two-shot? Oh my goodness, that is a Draco Meteor. That does so much damage, but not enough, as Suicune is barely able to hang on and secure the win with a Scald. Moving to the next match, leading Cinderace into Aurorus, a lead that is, at this point, pretty familiar, as an earlier match also had an Aurorus lead. Cinderace not even going to bluff the Focus Blast, instead just looking to boost up the damage. Opponent, maybe unfamiliar with the moveset, ends up committing the shield. Aurorus does have enough for the Meteor Beam, and they go straight for it. This is now a boosted Aurorus that Cinderace will have to deal with. This is only a boosted Weather Ball. The opponent knows they're getting outpaced, so they will fire off the Weather Ball. That still actually does add up. Opponent going to bring in Primarina, and Primarina is going to be answered with the Ampharos. Ampharos going to get outpaced here, as Primarina does make it to a potential Hydro Cannon. Hydro Cannon will be shielded up. Ampharos looking for the farm down and getting the farm down. Exiting with a Zap Cannon loaded. Opponent gonna bring in Aurorus, only going for the Brutal Swing though, hoping Brutal Swing will be enough to knock out. Brutal Swing, oh, that's not gonna do nearly enough. Brutal Swing, cheaper this season, but that did come with a reduction in damage in the back. Opponent has Regirock. Please let this land. Come on. In comes Cinderace, going for the Focus Blast. Oh my goodness, they do not respect it, and that's gonna be game over. Moving to the next match, Cinderace versus Cresselia. So far, we are seeing Cinderace. It definitely needs an advantage to do any kind of work. We're going to see a safe switch into Feraligatr. Feraligatr going to get hit with a Focus Blast momentarily. Focus Blast does get shielded. That is unfortunate. In comes the Ampharos. And Ampharos, since this is the non-Shadow Feraligatr, can survive a Hydro Cannon pretty comfortably. The non-Shadow Feraligatr does not get a farm down after landing a Hydro. Opponent throwing on alignment there, trying to go for a charge attack priority tie. They Ice Beam. I am very confused. That is the second time in these battles we have seen an Ice Beam from a Feraligatr thrown when they definitely should have just gone for a Hydro. In comes Cresselia, and Ampharos is going to start firing off a bunch of energy. Actually choosing to save the energy and pivoting back into the Cinderace. Cinderace hit with a Grass Knot that will not KO. In the back is Giratina, and Giratina gets a big farm down. In comes the Shadow Suicune. Opponent tries to throw, maybe trying to CMP tie a potential Ampharos, but the Ampharos does not enter the field of play. Instead, it's going to be the Shadow Suicune. So my guess is the battler did crop out what rank they are, but my guess is these may be pre-rank 20 battles, just based on the fact that we have seen some less than optimal timing from opponents, as well as the fact, as we see right there, as well as the fact that we have seen some opponents throw suboptimal moves in certain situations. Shadow Suicune is going to make it to another Ice Beam. Ice Beam is going to inflict big damage to this Giratina. We see the switch out to the Cresselia. Oh, not able to get there. Just getting outpaced. Cresselia picking up the knockout with the Grass Knot, and it's all up to the Ampharos. Ampharos at 100 energy, going for the Brutal Swing. This is super effective damage. It is going to pick up the knockout, and with that KO, that should be game over, as back in comes the Giratina to get knocked out as well. We see a very interesting lead in the next match here, leading Cinderace into Articuno, and that definitely confirms my suspicions that this is going to be pre-rank 20 battles. Opponent's safe switch is Talonflame. Talonflame answered with Ampharos. Articuno, not really a Pokemon that you're going to see in the Open Ultra League when it comes to ranked ELO. Opponent, oh my goodness. There was a little bit of a stutter there. I was worried that that was going to end up being a Charge Attack priority tie or even ending up with the Ampharos getting outpaced. But thank goodness it did not. And it looks like the opponent just resigned. They brought in the Greninja. They did not want to play anymore. And there we see it. Okay, so these battles are at rank 16. Okay, Cinderace versus Walrein. Walrein has to farm up a lot of energy if it wants to deal any kind of significant damage with Earthquake. And this opponent just doesn't farm up. And by not farming up, they are just never going to get that shield. In comes a Skeletor to save switch, going to be answered with the Shadow Suicune. Suicune is going to be able to throw 3 Snarls and the move here for optimal charge move timing. So this battler, it looks like they must have just gotten a start to their season a bit late, because their charge attack timing is pretty optimal throughout. Here, oh my goodness, that frame drop. Oh, that hurt my soul. They were going to do 1 in the move to try and outpace because the opponent had thrown 1 to try and go for good timing, but the frame drop meant just no move is reached at all, but Suicune getting the last laugh, saying frame drop who? Getting to the Scald, knocking out, and winning the 0-2 shield in the back. Oh, that's an Annihilate. That is an Annihilate. There should not be an Annihilate on our screen in Season 20. That thing is incredibly washed. Flame Charge is going to connect. Annihilate firing off its energy. We're going to see the shield from the Cinderace. Can Cinderace maybe try and commit to a Farm Down and a Focus Blast? That would be pretty glorious, and that's what we're going to get. A Farm Down and a Focus Blast. The Night Slash shielded up. A momentary pause to make sure that it was the Walrein that was entering the field of play. That's a Focus Blast, and that is a fully one-shot Walrein. Terrible lead in the next match. Oh my goodness. As we see Cinderace plus Ampharos Core leading into a Swampert, but the opponent switched out. They feared the Trailblaze. They bring in Sylveon. Oh my goodness. And they just get one shot with a Zap Cannon. I do sometimes enjoy getting to watch these early rank battles because the outcomes, a lot of the time at higher rank, the outcome of a match is more or less known as the match progresses. But in these lower ranks, sometimes things can take a dramatic turn in ways that were not expected. We actually do see a Scald debuff there, a free Snarl again. Oh my goodness. These battles, I feel, are a really good demonstration of the importance of that good charge attack timing, because you see all the free energy that Yveltal keeps getting and that Yveltal is not giving to his opponents, and it just makes it so difficult for his opponents to get any kind of traction in these battles. That debuff's Hydro Cannon does nothing. Oh, it's a Skeledirge in the back, and Cinderace is walled. This is where the limited coverage of Cinderace is really going to hurt it. Like, not only is Cinderace not really tanking charge attacks too well, but Cinderace's coverage, fire plus fighting, oh my goodness, it has its limitations. It absolutely does. Cinderace is going to commit the shield. It's going to be another Disarming Voice. Again, we're going to see 3 in the move, so Yveltal definitely knows their timing, which is quite nice to watch, but it's just a very important demonstration of knowing timing versus not knowing timing. Opponent is going to fire off their energy. They go for, okay, this is just a single move Skeledirge here, as if they had Shadow Ball, they definitely would have used it, and this is now just an incredibly boosted Cinderace. Cinderace goes for the Flame Charge and takes the win. Tough lead in the final match, Cinderace versus Feraligatr. We're going to see the save switch into the Ampharos. Opponent is going to try and catch a potential Thunder Punch or Trailblaze onto their Giratina, but good patience by Yveltal. Yveltal able to hold on to the energy and now connect with Brutal Swing after Brutal Swing onto this Giratina. Giratina actually ending up using a shield, and the opponent playing to a CMP tie that they do not win. Giratina takes quite a lot of damage, and this is the easiest no shield for Yveltal ever. Your Ampharos more than did its job. In comes Suicune. Suicune gonna go for a big Snarl farm down. Giratina is gonna fire off its energy, going for the Dragon Claw. They do not get a second, but we are gonna see a switch out by the opponent as they send in Registeel. Registeel, pretty much extinct in the Great League, but in the Ultra League, it's definitely still around. As Registeel, even without the Zap Cannon debuffs that were its signature, just purely off of bulk, this thing is very, very scary. They farmed up a ton of energy. We're going to see a shield from the Suicune, and they're not even running Zap Cannon. They said Zap Cannon got nerfed. I'm not even using Zap Cannon anymore. I'm using Flash Cannon now. We're going to see the shield from Suicune. It's another Flash Cannon from the Registeel. Suicune has so much energy loaded, firing off this Scald. Scald is going to connect. It picks up the knockout. Back in comes the Feraligatr, trying for a catch. The catch is unsuccessful. And I think this is just going to be game over. Hydro Cannon, that's a one-hit KO. And unfortunately, I think that's, as you get to past rank 20 and as people get their elo, that's going to be more of the standard Cinderace experience, is it just does not have the bulk or coverage that it would need. Opponent shields and almost found their way into a loose con, but Giratina is just barely able to hang on and take the win. All in all, Cinderace is a very cool Pokemon design, but unfortunately, its stats, much like the other starters, just translate very poorly into Pokemon Go. It's so attack-weighted in Go that it would realistically need an overpoweringly strong moveset, much like something like a Greninja got, to have a chance to thrive. So if it got one of these like hyper energy focused fast moves like Water Shuriken is for water types, and Blast Burn in a future community day, maybe it could see a bit more play, but realistically, it'd probably need a different coverage move as well, because Focus Blast just ends up being a little too expensive overall. So it's a very cool Pokemon design, and I'm intrigued to see what they can do with it down the road in the future, but for now, it's more of just get it in your decks, and then you can safely ignore it until it gets a future move update. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our members here on YouTube. The support guys provide is sincerely appreciated. So thank you guys so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.